The rain was coming down so hard that afternoon that it felt like the sky had simply given up. I could barely see the road ahead through my windshield as I drove along a lonely stretch of highway in northern Georgia. The storm had turned the world gray and silent, except for the pounding of water against metal and glass. Most people were rushing home, trying to get out of the weather as quickly as possible. Then I saw them. A dark sedan sat on the shoulder of the road with its hood raised. Two young women stood beside it, completely soaked by the rain. Cars sped past them without slowing down. Some drivers glanced over for a second before disappearing into the storm. For a moment, I almost kept driving too. But something inside me told me to stop. Before we continue, if you believe kindness still matters in this world and that one small act can change someone's life, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories. My name is Joshua Carter, and at that point in my life, things weren't going well. I was 34 years old and living in a small town outside Atlanta. 6 months earlier, the auto repair shop where I worked had closed unexpectedly. The owner retired, and everyone lost their jobs overnight. Since then, I had been picking up temporary work wherever I could find it. Money was tight. My savings were almost gone. My confidence was even worse. Every morning I woke up wondering whether life would ever get better. That rainy afternoon, I was returning from another unsuccessful job interview when I noticed the stranded car. As I pulled over, the two women looked surprised. One appeared to be around 23. The other looked slightly younger. Both looked exhausted, worried, and completely drenched by the storm. I grabbed my rain jacket and stepped into the downpour. The younger woman looked relieved the moment she realized I wasn't just another driver passing by. Their names were Sarah and Hannah Mitchell. They explained that they were sisters traveling from Tennessee to visit family in Florida. About an hour earlier, the car had begun making strange noises before suddenly losing power. They had tried calling roadside assistance, but the storm had overwhelmed local services. They had already been waiting for nearly 2 hours. The rain continued pouring as they spoke. I could see fear behind their eyes. Not because of the car, because they were alone, in the middle of nowhere, and nobody seemed willing to help. I wasn't sure I could fix the vehicle, but I promised I would at least take a look. The moment I opened the hood, years of experience immediately kicked in. For the first time in months, I wasn't thinking about unpaid bills, failed interviews, or uncertainty. I was focused. The engine had suffered a problem with one of its electrical connections. The heavy rain and moisture had made the issue worse. It wasn't a major repair, but it required patience. The challenge was that the storm kept fighting me every step of the way. Water dripped into my eyes. My hands slipped repeatedly. The wind pushed against the hood. Several times I wondered if I should simply give up and wait for professional assistance. But every time I looked over at Sarah and Hannah standing there in the cold rain, I kept going. After nearly 45 minutes, I finally tightened the last connection and asked Sarah to try starting the engine. For a few seconds, nothing happened. My stomach dropped. Then the engine roared back to life. The sound was almost drowned out by the rain, but the sisters immediately understood what it meant. The expressions on their faces changed instantly. Relief, disbelief, gratitude. The kind that can't be faked. For the first time all day they smiled. I felt something shift inside me too. For months, I had felt invisible, like my skills no longer mattered, like I had nothing valuable left to offer. Yet, standing there in the rain, watching that engine run again, I remembered something important. Sometimes your worth doesn't disappear. You simply forget it exists. The sisters repeatedly thanked me. When I told them not to worry about paying me, they seemed even more surprised. Truthfully, I hadn't helped them because I expected money. I helped because someone once did the same thing for me. Years earlier, when my father passed away unexpectedly, I had been stranded emotionally and financially. During that difficult season, complete strangers had shown me kindness when I needed it most. I never forgot that. Now, it was my turn. After making sure the vehicle was running properly, I prepared to leave. I assumed that would be the end of our encounter. I was wrong. As I walked back toward my truck, Hannah suddenly called out through the rain. There was something emotional in her voice. Something genuine. She explained that they had spent most of the day feeling abandoned. Hundreds of people had driven past. Nobody stopped. Nobody cared. Then, one stranger had changed everything. Before I could respond, Sarah smiled and said something I wasn't expecting. They wanted to see me again. Not because I fixed their car, because they believed people like me were rare. The comment caught me completely off guard. I laughed awkwardly and thanked them. We exchanged contact information before finally heading our separate ways. As I drove home through the storm, I assumed we would probably never speak again. Life has a funny way of proving us wrong. 3 weeks later, I received a message from Sarah. Then another. Then another. Then another. What started as occasional conversations slowly became a friendship. Through those conversations, I learned that the sisters had experienced a difficult few years. Their mother had battled a serious illness. Financial pressures had forced them to put many dreams on hold. Yet, despite everything they endured, they somehow remained optimistic. Their positivity became contagious. Little by little, they helped pull me out of a dark place I didn't fully realize I was still living in. Around the same time, something unexpected happened. A mechanic I knew recommended me for a position at a respected repair shop in Atlanta. The owner was impressed by my experience and offered me a full-time role. For the first time in months, stability returned to my life. I finally had steady income. I finally had purpose again. Most importantly, I had hope. Most importantly, I had hope. Over the following year, Sarah, Hannah, and I stayed close friends. We met several times whenever their travels brought them through Georgia. Each visit reminded me of that rainy afternoon. A simple decision to stop and help had created connections none of us could have predicted. One evening, nearly 18 months after the day we met, the three of us sat together at a small restaurant overlooking a lake in northern Georgia. The sunset reflected across the water as we talked about how much life had changed. Sarah shared something that stayed with me forever. She admitted that the day their car broke down had been one of the lowest moments of their lives. Not because of the vehicle itself, because they felt completely alone. Every passing car seemed to confirm their belief that people no longer cared about one another. Then one stranger stopped. One person chose compassion over convenience. One person decided their problem mattered. And according to her, that single moment restored a little bit of faith in humanity. I sat quietly after hearing those words, because the truth was, they had helped me just as much. While they thought I had rescued them from a storm, they had unknowingly rescued me from something else. Hopelessness. If this story is touching your heart, please take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness still exists in this world. Special request, comment below with the words "kindness comes back" if you believe one good deed can change a life. As the evening ended, we walked toward the parking lot under a clear sky. No rain, no storm, no broken car. Just three people whose lives had crossed because of one unexpected moment on a lonely highway. Looking back now, I realize that life rarely changes through grand gestures. Most of the time, it changes through small decisions. A choice to stop, a choice to help, a choice to care when nobody else does. That rainy day in Georgia taught me something I'll never forget. You never truly know what someone is carrying. You never know how close they are to losing hope. And you never know how powerful a simple act of kindness can become. I thought I was fixing a broken car. What I didn't realize was that 3 lives were being repaired at the same time. And sometimes, the greatest rewards come from helping someone when you expect absolutely nothing in return. Because kindness has a way of finding its way back home. And when it does, it often arrives in ways you never imagined.